All right, very good. So I've started recording and I'll turn it over to the judges.
All right, good morning here, good afternoon there, and welcome. We're not in Wisconsin, we're in the national finals. That's a homer effect from Matt, but I'm in Colorado. I'm coming to you from Colorado. I'm an attorney with the United States Air Force. I'm an alum of the program from the state of Indiana, and now I currently teach law at the Air Force Academy. I'll let my fellow judges introduce themselves. Richard?
My name's Richard Leiter. I'm a professor and director of the law library at the University of Nebraska College of Law, Lincoln, Nebraska. I've been judging state competitions for about 15 years, and I'm looking forward to your presentation today.
My name is Candida Steele, and I'm retired as a judge on the U.S. Civilian Board of Contract Appeals. I handled federal government contract disputes around the country, and I've been judging this program for 20 years this year. Welcome.
All right, if you all can introduce yourselves and your teacher, then we'll get started.
Hello, everyone. My name is Benning Johnson, and I'm a junior at the Williston Northampton School.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Michalski.
Hello, my name is Rosie Cooker.
Hello, my name is Liam Coughlin, and I'm a senior at the Williston Northampton School, and this is our teacher, Peter Gunn.
Hello, welcome.
All right, folks. Well, no surprise here, I don't think. We're going to be doing question 2. Good. You all nodded along like you knew what was coming. I'll read the question, then turn it over to you. A Bill of Rights is what the people are entitled to against every government on earth, general or particular, and what no just government should refuse or rest on inference. Do you agree or disagree with Thomas Jefferson? What are the advantages and disadvantages of a national Bill of Rights as compared to state bills of rights? What are the differences between positive and negative rights, and which are more important to the preservation of liberty?
Learned Hand once remarked that liberty lies in the hearts of men. While Hand's sentiment holds true and democracy is fueled by the involvement of the people, it is nearly impossible to ensure that liberty lies in one's heart if the definition of liberty is unclear. Liberty must be cultivated and maintained through civic education. In the period leading to the Constitution's ratification, Jefferson observed that there was no uniformity among the states as to the cases triable by jury. He asserted that a Bill of Rights is necessary to create cohesiveness, which is applicable to both general and particular governments to ensure a standard of fundamental rights.
The Bill of Rights ensures that all parties entering the agreement of government understand their rights and their limits. The Declaration of Independence states the government's purpose is to secure these inalienable rights, and that among these, though not limited to, are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The National Bill of Rights demonstrates the characteristics and values of the nation. Incorporation applies these rights to state governments as well. States in their own constitutions may go further to reflect their regional priorities. For example, Article 1, Section 23 of Florida's state constitution outlines explicitly the right to privacy, whereas the National Bill of Rights merely implies such a right.
The strength of a Bill of Rights comes from its steadiness against the volatile political whims of a momentary majority. 2/3 of Congress must vote to present an amendment, and then 38 states must ratify an amendment. This process ensures the sanctity of this document. Further, Congress represents a more diverse constituency. To pass a national amendment requires a greater demographic of voters to agree on its importance. On the other hand, state bills of rights better reflect the smaller, more homogeneous group's regional values.
State bills of rights are especially necessary to protect the people of each state. The 10th Amendment states, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution are reserved to the states." Therefore, it is more likely that the states will violate the natural rights of individuals than the national government. In Article 1, Section 21 of Nevada's Constitution, it asserts that state governments will recognize marriages and issue marriage licenses to couples regardless of gender. It would be difficult to garner enough states to add such language to the national constitution, but Nevada was able to do so on the state level.
Classification of positive and negative rights deals with relationships between individuals or groups in the government. Positive rights, such as the Sixth Amendment right to a speedy and public trial, require government action. Congress must actively allocate funds and regular oversight to ensure the government is upholding this right. Another positive right is voting. Throughout history, the 15th, 19th, 24th, and 26th Amendments were necessary to protect the assumed fundamental right to vote to all races, genders, and individuals above the age of 18, regardless of financial situation or literacy level.
Negative rights restrict government action. The First Amendment states Congress will make no law prohibiting government violation of religion, speech, press, assembly, or petition for a redress of grievances. This separates government's role from religion and promotes freedom of conscience. Negative rights are inherently more passive. By simply respecting individual rights, the government upholds them. While passive, the negative rights to free conscience and speech are the rights on which all other rights are built.
The We the People text states freedom of expression allows for the protection of all other rights of the individual, as well as allowing a person or a group to try persuasion in order to achieve additional rights. In 1940 Minersville v. Go-Bittis, Justice Stone dissented, saying the very essence of liberty guaranteed by the Constitution is the freedom of the individual from compulsion as to what he shall think and what he shall say. This opinion was so influential that the courts reversed their Minersville v. Go-Bittis decision just 3 years later in West Virginia v. Barnett.
This act was especially meaningful as the Supreme Court rarely overturns decisions to protect their authority. They demonstrated the value of respecting negative rights. While individuals are privileged to have numerous positive and negative rights, the assurance that negative rights are respected is crucial in reserving liberty for all. Thank you. We are now ready for your questions.
All right, and questions we do have. Right, I want to go to Liam's point. You talked about steadiness against volatility. And but I struggle with that because we've rarely amended the U.S. Constitution, but then you've got the state of Alabama, which has amended it 948 times or so. Is there a better middle ground, or do you like the way it's currently set up?
I think that the United States system of federalism allows for each state to sort of be a laboratory of democracy. And I think that the effectiveness of both the federal and state systems sort of can happen equally under different under different circumstances. And I think that the number of times a certain document is amended sort of plays into, as we were talking about, sort of these homogenous regional values, and that the Bill of Rights in its essence is the protection of rights which a group finds to be fundamental, and that this could be extremely different on a state by state and then national level.
Now, I mentioned Liam. Everybody's allowed to answer, but you just happen to say it in the opening statement. Thanks.
Homogeneous regional, I can't remember the rest of the term, but several of you mentioned that homogeneous regional agreement. That's an interesting concept. Can you take off on that and explain to us why the local constitutions are going to give us this homogeneous perspective that you're talking about?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You can go.
We believe that local constitutions are better able to serve the people that they protect, and local governments are better able to do so. State constitutions can include wording and include laws that protect the people of their state and the needs of their state. People throughout the United States are very diverse and can differ to a great extent. So having the ability to have a government built on federalism protects the diverse population that each state could have compared to other states.
And
Go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was just going to say, in relation to that, the states vary across the US. So as well as there's diversity within the states, there are also regional groupings, such as New England is different from the Deep South. So these state by state differences allow for more federalism and discrepancy there.
I was just going to add on to what Rosie was saying about the different regions and how some certain things that they do disagree on could be like the importance of the common good or the value of liberty, and like to what extent do you find a balance between those things? Differs based on region.
If I may tie back to Mr. Mabus's original question, I think the process of incorporation sort of is sort of the reverse of the idea that we're talking about, that both language that is found in state constitutions then can be become part of the national constitution if it is demonstrated by one state to be such a fundamental right, and so fundamental to the preservations of the blessings of liberty. But that also incorporation works backwards, in that when it is determined by the courts that a national piece of the amendment needs to be applied to all states, the courts are able to do so through the 14th Amendment in the Due Process Clause.
Okay, you weren't advocating for all of the states to be the same with the use of the term, that homogeneous term that you were using, but recognizing each state differently, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Canada, you're muted. Canada, you're muted.
To be coughing in everybody's ears. What was left out of the Bill of Rights?
I think two important rights that we saw left out of the original Bill of Rights were the right to privacy and the right to education.
And although those rights are implied in different places in the Constitution, having them explicitly outlined in the Bill of Rights could lead to simpler processes through the states or federal level.
Additionally, these rights were in FDR's economic Bill of Rights. The right to a good education was explained there, whereas it wasn't explicitly in the original Bill of Rights, probably because the original Bill of Rights focused on more negative rights, and education would be a positive right.
But
And
that's something I struggle with, is why is education a right versus just something that's really good for society? How do I know the difference between a right versus this is good?
So education is vital to society, like you said. As Learned Hand pointed out, it's vital for an informed population to contribute to a nation. But education is protected in every single state constitution, and is an implied right in the U.S. Constitution, which ensures that each state will have informed voters and informed citizens able to better contribute to society.
And just to make that more specific, in the Constitution, it's protected in Article 4, Section 4, where we guarantee the right to a Republican government for each state, in the preamble with the General Welfare Clause and the Necessary and Proper Clause.
And to expand upon Rosie's mentioning of Article 4, Section 4, and the national guarantee to Republican government, we believe that for the basic functions of government to move forward, there's a necessity to have an informed base of voters, and that the government must take this active role in securing this positive right and in churning out well-informed voters to allow this machine of government to keep running.
And Mr. Mabus, to more specifically answer your question about the common good and whether or not this is just a good thing, why does it have to be explicitly outlined? I think that goes a lot back to the difference between the blessings of liberty and the general welfare, because while the general welfare would call for civic education, we have to balance it with individual motives.
Additionally, I think, like Rosie was saying, this does go back to our original question of negative rights being more important, such as things like universal basic income and expanding unemployment benefits are not yet guaranteed things or positive rights completely, but in the original Bill of Rights, there were many negative rights explicitly outlined.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Good job. All right, I enjoyed it. Richard, over to you.
Well, thank you very much. That was a very interesting presentation. You guys did a good job at covering the subject matter. Gave me a good feeling that to know that you guys are as well versed and educated about the Constitution, much more so than the average person on any street in any city USA. So you should be very proud of yourselves. Obviously, you put in a lot of work, learned this stuff, and I hope that you did so because you like it and because it inspired you. I just think this is fascinating stuff, and you should be very proud of yourself. You did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree, and I'm unmuted, I think.
Yes.
So I thought you did a really lovely job, and every one of you participated and had great things to contribute. I very much appreciated your discussion of that it was a good thing how difficult it was to pass an amendment that protects them being there. You just all did a really lovely job, and I don't know what you're interested in doing when you grow up, but I'm sure what we'll have out of the four of you is good citizens who are going to go vote and who are going to read the paper and talk to your friends and family and have an opinion about how we should take care of ourselves. But I think you're all good enough that I hope that some one of you might think a little further and think about being a lawyer or a politician or one of our representatives, or because we need you. We need people who know what they're talking about to be in those roles. And I just would say that I'd sleep a whole lot better in my nursing home, knowing that you all have stepped up and taken over running the government. We need it. Thank you. That was a great job.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
really enjoyed it. I'll echo Mr. Gunn. He gave you the thumbs up, so I'll echo that as well. But I'm on video, so I can do it in real life. I enjoyed that. I have about 3 or 4 more questions with 2 or 3 follow-ups. And as I'm going
You'd
through
like to
your
stay
opening,
later?
yeah, so you're going to stay for detention just so I can ask you those questions. I really enjoyed this. I thought you had a really thought-provoking opening statement, and then you backed it up in the Q&As. I will give Rosie a pat on the back. Y'all were hitting the layups, and she brought the slam dunk, which is I asked a specific question, and y'all were kind of answering around it, and she said, "Okay, I'm going to answer your very specific question, so you don't walk away feeling left out." And so, thank you for doing that. I thought that was a wonderful job of how you handled that, because you all were answering the question, and then you just brought it to closure. So, speaking of closure, well done. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.